recorded from yesterday, as this is not so windy today.
Right, so good morning ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll get this underway. We've got a decent crowd here, we might not even need these umbrellas, I think the sun has come out, so I'll tell you what, I'll pop that down.
Just be quiet, don't say anything about the sun, and then it will come out. Every time he says the word sun,
right, so good morning, my name's Kev, and I'm here today just to sort of help things move swiftly along, but this, ladies and gentlemen, is Europe's first ever drag racing car, and I'd like to hand you over and introduce you firstly to Brian Taylor, who's a man who's been instrumental in getting this car into the state that it's in right now. It's been a journey of some, I think, 5 years, isn't it, Brian?
That's right, 5 years since I first had the crazy idea of restoring the car or completing a restoration. Because Brian Gold started back in the late 1970s. But I just thought if we could get this car so it's running, so people can hear and see Europe's first dragster, that's going to be a challenge. Fortunately enough, I found enough friends and acquaintances, and we've got enough financial support to keep us going. It would never have been a quick job, it would have been a long job, because we were learning as we went along. So, but it's now a stage we can head back to the museum, who of course own it, and people can see it. But it will be taken out on a fairly regular basis now that it works and people want to see it, and so it becomes an ambassador for the museum.
And tell us a little bit about the history of the car here, because this is Europe's first ever drag racing car, and this was kind of the dream of a man, I suppose, really, who'd seen what was going on across the pond and thought we could do that in Europe.
Well, yeah, I mean, Sydney and I were, a lot of people know, it's a sports car manufacturer, but very much a racer at heart, and I think it was his son Alan who today said that the purpose of the business really was to fund his father's racing activities. And so he was the man. He's gold in Le Mans. I think he came second at Le Mans. He won Monte Carlo one year. He was a British hill climb champion many years in succession. But he liked speed events better than the other events. And at the time, this is sort of late 50s, sprinting was sort of on a little bit of a down. It wasn't so popular as it had been, and he thought, well, what can we do to add some jazz into sprinting? And he'd seen and been aware of what was happening on drag racing in America, because most of his sports cars had V8 engines in them anyway. After a disastrous attempt at a twin-engine stair car, which didn't do an awful lot, he saw some pictures in a hot rod publication and stormed into the office, I'm told, and said, we're going to build one of these.
And we're pleased he did, and then you've obviously, via a kind of a route, has ended up here at Beaulieu. You then saw it as a kind of rolling chassis and thought, let's get an engine in this and let's get it restored and let's get it running again.
Well, that's right. I mean, Brian Golder did a great job, but then he went and joined the Merchant Navy, and so asked the museum to look after it, which they did. And then when Brian passed on, his widow Diane bequeathed it to the museum, and that was in 1992. And it's been sitting there, looking as if it was complete, but underneath there was just a small block Chevy block holding the headers on, but there was nothing in there. And one of the half shafts was gone, the gearbox was not working, so we knew if we had a plan we could do it.
And you did have a plan, but I think I'll introduce you to this man just behind me now. Nick, if you'd like to step forward. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Mason, whom some of you may be aware of, maybe you won't know. But Brian, I think you had to get on the phone to Nick, or vice versa, tell how Nick got involved and how we got to this point.
Well, Nick got involved sort of as it was going through all the BEAULIEU hoops that you have to go through before they were allowing you to sort of do anything with the car. My first contact was with Lord Montague, and I emailed him and said, I've got this idea, what do you think? And he got Doug Hill involved and Andrea Bishop, and they said, okay, as long as you do it properly and you got the funds and you publicise it, we'll let you have a go. And on the way, because Nick was chairing the trustees advisory board, I thought, okay, it's always good to have someone a bit famous to flash around, and for Americans Lord Montague was good enough, but Pink Floyd as well. I mean, I thought that's a good idea, and Nick kindly says, okay, I'll have a bit of that, and he's been our patron. Nick, would you like to jump in there and add to that?
Yeah, well, I have to say it's one of the best jobs I've ever had, because I had to do very little, really. The real work has been done by Brian. I think everyone should recognise that Brian and his entire team have done the most fantastic job. It's a fairly unique occasion, actually, because it's not very often that a National Motor Museum gets people from outside to come in and take on a project like this and do it so incredibly well. You can see, I saw the car in some of its early days, and I can tell you it didn't look like this. This is really good.
Yeah, it's a fabulous restoration. I think we're about to get it fired up. all the chaps as well here behind you, Brian. I think you probably want to just say a word, you know, on behalf of thanking these guys, because a lot of these are volunteers.
All of them are volunteers. More than volunteers, it's cost us a packet I mean, just travelling takes loads of money out of it. But it's we're all drag racing enthusiasts. A lot of us have been involved in drag racing for probably too many years, and we should have grown up years ago, and we haven't. And this is what we knew it needed to be done. I mean, you can't have Europe's first dragster sitting there without an engine and doing nothing. I mean, dragsters make noises, you know. We can never race it because it's completely illegal, but we can cackle it, we can fire it up. Well, hopefully we can fire it up in the damp, but if it coughs a bit, by the way, because of the rain. But I have something I'd like to present.
Yep, perfect. So I think we'll introduce this point as well. This is Russell Byrne, Managing Director of BEAULIEU here, the home of the National Motor Museum. Russell, I'll hand over to you, but I think Brian's got a restoration pack and a car that he'd like to hand over to you.
Thank you very much. It is really a delight on behalf of the National Motor Museum to accept the car back to us in a much better shape than it was before you guys got involved, and to accept from Brian the sort of details, giving a record of all of the work that's gone on it, and that information will go into our records that we keep for this vehicle permanently, so that in 50 years time or 100 years time, hopefully people will still know the work that's gone on and see the part that you've played really in the history of the vehicle.
Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Richard, are you happy with photos? Do you want another quick snap?
Do it again.
Right, do you want to come on in here again? Do an official handover. Nick, come on in here as well.
Smile then. One more. Great. Thank you.
Right, I think then, without further ado, Brian, I think we'll probably have to start this up. Oh, another quick photo here. I'll step out. Quick photo, and then we're going to get this one fired up. And like I said, ladies and gents, you probably are going to put your fingers in your ears. Lady over there's got earmuffs already. Obviously, did the drag racing before. If you want earplugs, there are some around. Charlotte, I think, from BEAULIEU's got some just over there.
Yesterday it was nothing.
Otherwise, fingers in your ears.
No, you go to
Right,
Santa
we all
Claus,
step
your
up.
ears
Let's
ring,
all be
don't
all
they?
right.
I don't know, I've never been.
Haven't you? Oh, that's lovely.
I've never been.
We're going in
Follow
July.
people that know and don't they?
Yeah. But that's a drag down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hours left, so it's not happening.
Stair car, which didn't do an awful lot. He saw some pictures in a hot rod publication and stormed into the office, I'm told, and said, we're going to build one of these.
We're pleased he did, and then you've obviously, via a kind of a route, it's ended up here at Beaulieu. You then saw it as a kind of rolling chassis and thought, let's get an engine in this and let's get it restored and let's get it running again.
Well, that's right. I mean, Brian Golder did a great job, but then he went and joined the Merchant Navy, and so asked the museum to look after it, which they did. And then when Brian passed on, his widow Diane bequeathed it to the museum, and that was in 1992. And it's been sitting there, looking as if it was complete, but underneath there was just a small block Chevy block holding the headers on, but there was nothing in there. And one of the half shafts was gone, the gearbox was not working, so it all. We knew. And I think it was his son Alan who today said that the purpose of the business really was to fund his father's racing activities. And so he was the man. He's involved in Le Mans. I think he came second at Le Mans. He won Monte Carlo one year. He was a British hill climb champion many years in succession. But he liked speed events better than the other events. And at the time, this is sort of late 50s, sprinting was sort of on a little bit of a down. It wasn't so popular as it had been, and he thought, well, what can we do to add some jazz into sprinting? And he'd seen and been aware of what was happening on drag racing in America, because most of his sports cars had V8 engines in them anyway. After a disastrous attempt at a twin engine, if we had a plan, we could do it.
And you did have a plan, but I think I'll introduce you to this man just behind me now. Nick, if you'd like to step forward. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Mason, whom some of you may be aware of, maybe you won't know. But Brian, I think you had to get on the phone to Nick, or vice versa, tell how Nick got involved and how we got to this point.
Well, Nick got involved sort of as it was going through all the BEAULIEU hoops that you have to go through before they were allowing you to sort of do anything with the car. My first contact was with Lord Montague, and I emailed him and said, I've got this idea, what do you think? And he got Doug Hill involved and Andrea Bishop, and they said, okay, as long as you do it properly and you got the funds and you publicise it, we'll let you have a go. And on the way, because Nick was chairing the trustees advisory board, I thought, okay, it's always good to have someone a bit famous on to flash around.
This is not so windy today.
Right, so good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think we'll get this underway. We've got a decent crowd here, and we might not even need these umbrellas. I think the sun has come out, so I'll tell you what, I'll pop that down.
Just be quiet. Don't say anything about the sun, and then it'll come out. Every time he says the word sun,
right, so good morning. My name's Kev, and I'm here today just to sort of help things move swiftly along. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is Europe's first ever drag racing car, and I'd like to hand you over and introduce you firstly to Brian Taylor, who's a man who's been instrumental in getting this car into the state that it's in right now. It's been a journey of some, I think, 5 years, hasn't it, Brian?
That's right, 5 years since I first had the crazy idea of restoring the car or completing a restoration. Because Brian Gold started back in the late 1970s. But I just thought, if we could get this car so it's running, so people can hear and see Europe's first dragster, that's going to be a challenge. Fortunately enough, I found enough friends and acquaintances, and we've got enough financial support to keep us going. It would never have been a quick job, it would have been a long job, because we were learning as we went along. So, but it's now a stage we can hand back to the museum, who of course own it, and people can see it. But it will be taken out on a fairly regular basis now that it works and people want to see it, and so it becomes an ambassador for the museum.
And tell us a little bit about the history of the car here, because this is Europe's first ever drag racing car, and this was kind of
to the show.
the dream of a man, I suppose, really, who'd seen what was going on across the pond and thought we could do that in Europe.
Well, yeah, I mean, Sydney and I were, a lot of people know, was a sports car manufacturer, but very much a racer at heart.